Good evening. Today we are going to embark upon an interesting and insightful discussion. We want to probe into the dimensions of faith. Oftentimes, people have the notion that science deals with facts and spirituality deals with faith. Is it really so? What are the basic postulates or what are the basic foundations of science? What exactly we define as, or how do we exactly define faith? What exactly guides our own day-to-day lives? What is reasonable? What is non unreasonable? What is a safety factor? But then we hear without risk there is no growth. How much should be the risk factor? What is a safe risk factor to take life? It's all about which gear to take, and in that gear where to steer. That and much more will be the topic of discussion today. Many times people very easily pass a comment. Whenever they hear the term Vedas, people very easily pass a comment saying that, oh, Vedas, oh, this is a mythology, oh, this is a myth. Modern day technical age, Vedas outdated. Now, if you ask the person, my dear sir, please tell me, have you read what is there in Vedas? Uh, can you summarize 20 main teachings of the Vedas? Can you give a flow of how Vedas prescribe a staircase of evolution of consciousness? From the less evolved to the more evolved, and what is the transition, that key point transition factor which can take from one evolution tier to the next evolution tier, evolution of consciousness or heart behavior, or so qualities. So we ask such a question, then we have seen people, the same person will be giggling and say, and I have not read about it. I have not read about it. So what do we call this as? What do we call this as? So it's easy to say, or it is easy to make comments, but what kind of attitude or paradigm we are following behind rejection of Vedas. So anything blind is going to be faulty and erroneous. Blind acceptance is bad, and we may troll many no, innocent, gullible people just believing in the scriptures or a spiritual lifestyle without knowing the foundations behind it. But blind rejection uh, uh, is simply another derivation of the same blind. So that's also blind. That's also superstitious. That's also dogmatic. That's also dogmatic. So therefore, uh, we need to understand that superstitious dogmatic acceptance following blind trajectories blindly is not what is called as faith. That is the first point to understand. Rather, faith is the proclivity or is the proclivity of an individual to explore, to come out of fixed, rigid boxes which are loaded or permeated with inebrities and faults and fallacies. Faith is that proclivity, not to reconciliate with a limitation box of a lifestyle, but to believe that there is something further which can enhance the fabric of our lives. That's faith. Faith is not orthodox, blind superstition, blindly soaking ourselves in some dogmatic belief systems or imaginations or hallucinations. That's not faith. But faith is the proclivity to expand, to improve, to enrich, not just to reconciliate with that, with the basic minimum, not just to reconciliate with the limited, but to expand the frontiers, to enhance the quality of life per se. That's faith. So faith is that proclivity which propels a person to steer into sublime domains, to steer oneself into sublime domains, to experience beyond the current limitations which a particular lifestyle, the society, the culture, the ethics, the fashion, a particular trends impose upon us. So that's faith. That's faith. That is how we can understand what's faith. So in fact, in that sense, we can try to understand that faith requires guts. So that's the point, that every uh, every successful entrepreneur, scientist, philosopher, writer can share his experience that at some point when he was not successful, He had that belief that let me steer, let me take the gear and steer, even if there is opposition, even if people are doing mockery, let me steer. I don't want to reconciliate with uh, with a routine lifestyle which everybody does to get some crumbs of money and some crumbs of food, and that's it. The issue of the survival, I want to make things better, I want to make life better, I want to improve the things. So that propelling zeal to steer oneself, to propel oneself forward, that is what we can call as faith. And therefore, the next point to ponder over is that faith, in this sense, we can understand that faith is needed in every walk of life. Faith is needed in material life. In fact, the matter of the fact is that if we do not have faith, we cannot survive. That's the point. We cannot survive without faith. Just like when the unfortunate catastrophe of the World Trade Center happened, the WTC mishap happened. So people were very afraid, they were horrified, they were terrified. It was such an heartrending, it was so heartrending to see. Even see, it was so heartrending to even see actually. So people were horrified and terrified. So then what happened is that, as per the statistics, the airlines traffic, the airlines passenger traffic uh, decreased drastically. It had a dip actually. For 1 week, the airlines had no passengers. But then after 1 week, things picked up. After 2 weeks, it was normal, as if nothing ever happened. So now we may say, okay, okay, why is it so? But then the simple reason which we can understand, the simple reason which we can understand that this is so, because what to do? We cannot stop living. So we have to move. Is it not? We have seen in the COVID time also, in the post-COVID phase, that when the flights have opened, there have been some incidents of some flights crashing. So I have seen my own relatives fearful that okay, some flights crashed, fearful, but then still traveling, because what else to do in life? Similarly, on uh, similarly when tsunami came actually, so for 2 weeks or so actually, the beaches, say the beaches in India, they were practically nobody. Like there's one beach, Malpe Beach near Udupi. So there was practically nobody. But after a month or so, everything becomes normal. So the point to note is that without faith, we cannot even survive. So no matter whatever we do, we have to put some amount of faith. What to say of anything else? Relationships require faith. Sometimes we may say, okay, uh, marriage is probably a very quite an important event in one's life. But now, if we try to understand, we try to see, uh, even marriage requires faith. So we may have heuristics. Okay, you match your hobbies. I match my hobbies. In India, we can do horoscope matching by the northern system, the South Indian system, the North India system. You can do horoscope matching. Uh, you can do psychology matching. So despite all that, One can do background check, family check, everything. So, despite all that, one can spend a little more time talking to each other. But how much can get to know in few interactions, even if it is over a period of few months? So ultimately, one is putting faith that okay, the person whom I am marrying, now the marriage will be will be successful. Will be able. So it requires faith, is it not? The partner is not ditching, not cheating. So therefore, if we do not have faith, there is nothing which we can do in life. Therefore, faith. It's not about uh, uh, whether to have faith or not. Without faith, we cannot survive. Now the question will come: where to have faith? We at all have to. We cannot faith if faith is not uh, uh, if faith cannot be given up or rejected, then the next important question to consider is which direction to have faith. So yes, that's about WBC. So yes, in similarly we can see in various material pursuits. In various material pursuits, again we have to have the element of faith. Like suppose the people are not driving, a person is driving, so okay, we are going to a zoo or we are going to a hill station, but then that involves faith, because you may never land up there. Person may land up in an accident, or he may get an emergency call, he may have to go back to his company, never land up in the zoo or a picnic spot or hill station where one is targeting to. Similarly, one may pass out from uh, the most reputed universities, but still that doesn't guarantee that one will be a successful scientist or a successful entrepreneur or a millionaire. But it's only about it's faith, actually, that faith, that hope that yes, let me fix myself to this trajectory and then go for a good long time, but go meticulously, with dedication, and then see how it goes. So it's all about faith. Life starts with faith. When we are born, we don't doubt. We drink our mother's milk. So there is reason to doubt, but we don't doubt. Similarly, we accept whatever the mother and father are saying to us. Then the child learns, he picks up the language. So if the parents are Tamilian, the child will pick up Tamil, like that. Parents are English, the child will pick up English. So they are Uriya, the child will pick up Uriya. So very naturally. So it doesn't doubt that are you speaking the right vocabulary? Is your diction proper? This accepts. Yeah. So this is pretty much the case of the Western world, and now quite an extent in India as well. So if you go to office, there is no guarantee that you will have your job. You may be just paid a 2 months, 3 months salary, and that's it, and all the best. There is no guarantee that you will have your job. And yes, this is pretty much the case in the West. And if you go home, there is no guarantee that you will have your wife. So we allow the surgeon to do anything to our body. We allow the whole staff feed us anything. We just take whatever they give. Uh, you see how much allowance or how much faith we are having in the barber. A little bit pressure increase, and we will be nowhere. So yes, the next aspect to ponder over is that we have touched upon this before as well, but just to give a quick, as a quick reminder or refresher, seeing is not believing. It's not just something which we experience with our gross senses. Uh, that is the be all and end all of what is called as reality. Our senses, seeing, smelling, tasting, the sensation of touch, all of these are but uh, limited boxes or limited wells which give us limited purview of reality. So we understand that very simply by the logic that yes, there are things in this world which we see but we do not believe. Or we see the horizon. We see that there is some point where the earth and the sky meet. But is there any point? No, we see the rail lines meeting. In a concave mirror, one may see some caricature of himself. But we don't believe in them. And there are things which we don't see, but we believe. There are many historical personalities we don't see, subatomic particles we don't see, I we don't see, is it not? Imaginary number I. There are so many things we don't see, but we believe in them. So yes, what we understand is that senses perception is just a limited well which gives us a limited understanding of reality. And the point to note is that if we simply remain under the well of sense perception, it doesn't make our lives happy. We have tried that out. We have tried that out. We have tried out a completely sensual life based on uh, sense satiation, but it makes the life empty. That's what has happened. So, so if we see as the centuries are passing, as mankind is evolving, or if we trace the history of mankind, we can see that at some point of time when this wave of atheism picked up actually, then the whole sensual culture came up. It just exuded out the whole sensual culture that live a free life, just do it, just enjoy. Life is meant for enjoyment. But then very soon people have started experiencing the vacuum and the emptiness it creates in the society, the hollowness which it creates in the society, how it saps away the sweetness of the society. So it simply makes a ghost out of our existence, and people have started to realize this, and therefore people talk about principles, ethics, values. Everywhere in the world people talk about that, and therefore people now tend to evaluate various paradigms of ethics and philosophy. Why? Because a purely sensual life uh, makes our purview completely empty. So then now even science requires faith. So that which is not proven, and we have to believe. Even science requires faith. So just like few examples are given, dark matter, the existence of dark matter not yet proven. There is no proof about dark matter. It is simply a belief system which is there. Uh, there is no proof for the existence of wormholes, black holes, wormholes. No proof. Even Einstein's mass energy equivalence, the gravitational wave, they got proven after more than 100 years after Einstein postulated it. The experimental proof came a few years before and got a Nobel Award. But the experimental proof came after 1 century of Einstein's postulates. So even science requires faith, that belief to try out an experiment into the sublime, into the unknown, and one may succeed, one may not succeed. Just like the recent Nobel Prize, which was, a few years back, the Nobel Prize which was given for these gravitational waves. So the whole team was researching for more than 25 years. That means practically their whole research career they had dedicated majorly to this. And suppose if they would not have been successful, it's a whole life of research invested for what? Nothing. Apparently nothing in terms of results like that. But that is the way how our frontiers of knowledge can expand. So even science requires faith. So many times people say, no, no, no. You see, so many times if we ask scientists that, okay, you know, uh, you say that, there is no need of God, there is no need of scriptures, but uh, but then no, you just follow science, and then but then we keep saying that, okay, but science keeps changing. Then they say, no, 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 no. Previously, we knew our knowledge was limited, but our knowledge is becoming more and more precise. In this way, we are going closer and closer and closer to reality, and we will be able to touch the absolute truth. No need of scriptures, no need of Vedas, no need of God, and everything. So many times, this kind of postulate or this kind of dictum is floated very easily. Now, uh, if we try to understand, the scientific theories keep changing, like disposable napkins, and the theories are changing. So we knew something which we thought and felt and believed that it was right, and then we came to know it is not right. And then we think some another thing which we believe that it is going to be right, but then it's proved that it is not correct. And in this way, the theories keep changing. Now, the point to note is that, can we define this as progress? So just take a simple example. Suppose the question, or suppose the research problem is, for people who don't know, like suppose a set of people don't know about this research problem, and the research problem question is that, okay, what is 3 plus 7 equals to? Now suppose the solution is not known to mankind, 3 plus 7 equals to what? Okay, and this is a research problem, this is an open research problem, the whole humanity is searching after it, that what is 3 plus 7 equal to? Now, one scientist came up with a solution that, okay, 3 plus 7 equals to 21. He came up with a solution, it's equal to 21. And he gave some logic, he gave some reasoning, he gave some charts, and everybody accepted. And after a few years, they came to understand, okay, 3 plus 7 is not equal to 21. And again, they started figuring out that, okay, what are the policies in the previous adoption, methodology and all that. And then another person came up with a solution, okay, 3 plus 7 equals to 100. And then they came to know further that, okay, 3 plus 7 is not equal to 100. So now, what 3 plus 7 equals to? The answer is only 1. Is it not? And now, so that set is a singleton set. Now, the answer of what 3 plus 7 equals to is only 1. But what is 3 plus 7 not equal to? That answer is infinite. So if you keep touching that infinite of what is not the right answer, you may, for a whole existence keep, just moving around in that set. Is it not? That is the point we have to understand. Many times, to come out of what is not a right way of thinking, one has to change his paradigm and vision. Then only one may, just like sometimes we have seen many times in solving problems, say solving a problem of physics, then you think in one direction and then you are solving, you're never reaching the right answer, you're cutting, solving, and trying out another way, integral, differential, partial differential, this, that, not reaching the solution. Then what is the solution at that point of time? The solution is leave that problem at that point of time, because your mind and brain has got tuned to thinking in one particular direction, which is a completely wrong direction. and in that direction any derivations or pop outs you do, it's never going to come to a solution. So then the solution is what? Forget about the problem for the time being. Go do something else, chill out. After a week, when you are in a good mood, when you are in, then you sit down with the fresh mind and from scratch, read the problem properly and think of some way. Then one's mind will in that way, in a fresh state, may think of some completely different direction of approach, and that may lead you to the right solution. So that's what is the point actually. So it's not that that we came to know that we were faulty. That means we are improving. We may be simply hovering in the set of what is in the negative set actually. What is not the right answer. So our paradigms need to change. Yeah. So therefore, we have to understand that that is the reason why we cannot just negate the spiritual existence or the spiritual aspect of our identity simply because we cannot see, we cannot see with our gross senses, because our gross senses are like a well, and how much we can understand from a well. Just like in our house there is a window, so a window can give us a purview of the limited landscape, but if we say that okay, earth is whatever I see out of my window is what is earth all about, it's not a very intelligent proposition to say or to believe by. The world is much more than small windows of sense perception. Let's try to okay. Before we go at this, before we go to this, yeah. So what we are going to flow through is a mock pictorial depiction of the scientific methodology. How does it work in terms of new inventions or how new theories were formulated? So I mean it's a mock simulation to just give us a picture to feel that yes, this is the methodology which we are adopting to approach the reality of this world, and so this is just to give us a feel of how the approach of scientific methodology, what we call it as a scientism, is all about, and how does it progress. Okay, so an exhaustive scientific study, by Dr. John Birdwatcher, PhD in ornithology. The topic is the color of birds. What is the color of birds? Is okay. Today, the aim is to determine the color of birds. The methodology is systematic observation of every bird that passes with the visual range of the observer. The apparatus, the camera, the strong pair of eyes, and an extra pair of eyes. To avoid errors, I have with me a trusted assistant. This is so now the observation is going on. Okay, bird one has come. And the observation, it's a blackbird. Further birds are coming. One by one. Blackbird, 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 blackbird. And therefore, based on the observation, exhaustive observation, the conclusion comes that all birds on planet Earth are black. That's the conclusion, which is jotted down September 25th. Then what happened? Okay, the next bird came, and it came out to be black, the 25th bird. So the blackbird theory is confirmed by all scientists of the world. It is published in the newspaper. The blackbird theory gets the Nobel Prize. All birds are blackbirds. Oh, but then what happened? The 33rd bird came out to be white. Now what to do? Bad data, bad data. Now rejected, rejected. The 37th bird came out to be blackbird, white bird. More bad data. Another bird came out to be white. Now what? So now we are on the verge of a major breakthrough in our quest for knowledge. So 65th bird, black. So now the grand unified bird theory. All birds are black or white. New theory confirmed. Then you see, new theory confirmed again. 80th bird, white. Theory confirmed beyond doubts. 90th bird is also white. So there is Nobel Prize now for the unified bird theory. But then what happens? The 100th bird comes out to be red. And now what will be the no? And it says hush, 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 bad data, bad data. Remove it. So 17th century Newton discovered these laws of classical mechanics and they were considered to be as universal truth. So classical mechanics is like saying that all birds are black. It's only Newtonian mechanics. No, so that's like saying yes, all birds are black. It's only Newtonian mechanics. It's only classical mechanics which can govern what is the what is which can govern anything in this world. But then 20th century we have started researching because microscopes have become invented. So people have started researching into the microscopic objects and we see that Newton's laws are no more applicable. So initially what it says is that okay, bad data, but then we say okay, we are on a strategic breakthrough in our theory. And then 20th century what came up? Because then now bad data started coming so much, then it cannot be bad if it is so much. And therefore 20th century what came up was quantum physics. Max Planck came up with quantum physics. So that's like saying okay, all birds are not just black, they are white also. So microscopic particles are white. So now what is the unified theory? Birds are either black or white. Either it is Newtonian physics or it is quantum physics. That all birds are black or white, and many Nobel Prizes got given in this period. And then now the scientists said okay, let's try to do some research on macroscopic objects also, now cosmological objects also. So in the 20th century the macroscopic objects research started happening. It showed that Newton's laws are not applicable there. But then for the cosmic phenomena, quantum physics is also not applicable. So therefore, another scientist, Albert Einstein came and he proposed, Albert Einstein proposed the theory of general relativity to explain many observed cosmic phenomena. So now this is like saying, okay, because you saw a red bird now, therefore we came up with a new theory. So this is the point, this is how science is evolving. That okay, now at one point of time, you see, Newton's laws were considered universal. But now we understand that it is only applicable to a certain section of objects which are neither microscopic in nature nor cosmic in nature. It only applies to a certain section of objects. And now the other two theories which came up, the two pillars of modern physics which came up, that is quantum physics and relativity. Now both of them are contradictory. So both cannot be simultaneously true. No? So yeah, so therefore there is this interesting observation by Nobel laureate physicist Steven Weinberg, who says that you see, as we make progress in understanding the expanding universe, the problem itself expands. So our efforts to understand it always seem to recede from us. So the solution always seems to recede from us actually. So so if you see this interesting observation, we can say that yes, okay, if we are watching birds, if it is the field of ornithology, then actually some birds can be simultaneously black and white. But modern day research about the laws of physics are like that you see the laws of quantum physics and the laws of relativity, the microscopic and the macroscopic, they cannot be true at the same time. They cannot be true. Both cannot coexist at the same time. So this is the point to understand that yes, there is policy, no doubt, in the methodology, in the modern day scientific methodology of how do we approach truth, there is inherent fallacy in that as well. Then now the question is that, okay, that then why do we accept science if there is fallacy in that? We accept science. So you see, if you for that matter, if you ask any genuine physicist is going to tell that physics doesn't talk about reality. Physics doesn't teach you what is reality. Physics simply gives you models. Physics simply gives you models which can give you some insights about the reality. That's all. It doesn't tell you this is reality. It gives you models which can give you some insights, some values, some quantifiable values and insights about reality. That's all what is physics all about. So we can see, yes, there are fallacies in science, but at least it helps us to do certain things. Therefore we accept. So therefore saying that, now if you say that, okay, science is all in all, we don't need God, that is blind, dogmatic, superstitious. Especially in lieu of the fact that the scientific methodology also has its inherent policies and limitations. And now we say, okay, because it is not telling about the absolute truth, let us reject it, then also we suffer. Because then it is like fanatic behavior, and we will get deprived of at least some benefits, the benefits which science can give us. So science is giving us some benefits, yes, just like technology. So technology makes our lives a little easier. It makes our lives a little faster. If we have if we have a meaningful goal in our lives, through science and technology, we can reach that meaningful goal faster. So rejecting science is not the solution, but accepting science as all in all is also not the solution. So in fact, many scientists also talk about this, that basically science is also based on on a philosophy. It is the philosophy, the vision, the philosophy on which science is based. And the philosophy is that anything which is a reality has to be passed through the wells of sense perception. That is, so this philosophy is called as scientism. So that is also a philosophy. Therefore, we have to understand that, you see, science is not everything in our lives. Science is a part of our lives, but life is much more, much more beyond. That is why we need scriptures. That is why we need a spiritual lifestyle. That is why we need to understand God properly. That's why we need to understand God properly. So yes, therefore we understand that, yes, that's why we need to explore the dimensions of Vedas. We need to explore what the scriptures are teaching us. And when we talk about, and as we talked about, that faith is that propellant to try it out and experience it for ourselves. Therefore now the 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 logical question which has to be there is not that whether I should put faith in scriptures or not. We are putting faith anywhere and everywhere. Why can't you put faith in the scriptures? Just not. Somebody tells us take this house is good. Somebody tells us take this product is good. Every ad is telling us this. Somewhere or the other, you put faith. Somebody tells us this movie is good, go and see. If you go and see, you don't like it. Somebody tells this profession is good. Sometimes entering that profession, we feel it's not much rocking. It's monotonous. It's all routine. It's not giving a kick. It's not my element. So we put faith anywhere and everywhere and try it out. And many times we realize after trying out it's not worth it. So when we are putting faith anywhere and everywhere, why not put faith in the scriptures and try out the spiritual life? So now to be able to place our faith, the question which we can evaluate, or the matrix which we can evaluate, is that whether it is a reasonable faith or a blind faith. That's the question which we can evaluate. So just like if you become ill, then we have to go to a doctor. Now it is okay. Many doctors are cheaters. In the name of medical profession, they are exploiting people in such a gruesome way. Yeah, that's true. There are many cases, so many times we hear so many cases, that you go for a test, people take out organs, they do so many things. So yes, but then if you are ill, you have to go to a doctor. How do we get cured otherwise? So the question is not whether to go to a doctor or not. That's inevitable. We are helpless about it. The question is, let's evaluate a proper doctor. So, so before going to any doctor, we will evaluate credentials, reputation, credibility, diagnosis. We go with a small thing and then see, and then we by a small prescription we follow. Then we are able to put a little more faith, and that's how the relationship develops. So reasonable faith. It should not be a blind faith. So in any direction, a fanatic attachment. When we make ourselves rigid, that okay, this is all what it is not, then that's blind following, and blind following can never lead us to a meaningful life, can never enhance the quality of our lives. Just like Srila Prabhupada tells an interesting story in this regard. But says one time actually what happened. So one time what happened is that there was a particular uh, so there was a particular soldier. So he encountered a milkman. Now this milkman was actually crying. He was wailing and crying, and he was howling, he was wailing, and he was beating his chest. And the milkman was crying. He was in abject agony, and it is as if his life had come to an end. He was mourning very seriously. So the soldier, he felt really, he started empathizing with him. He really felt bad. He felt maybe something catastrophic has happened. Very softly went to him, put his hand on his shoulders, gave him solace, and asked him, my dear friend, oh, what happened? What happened? Uh, and uh, and this milkman, he was so much crying, and he said, "Oh, alas, alas, my life has ended. My life is of no use." Oh, and the soldier was also, he also got some small, small tears, in his eyes because he was empathizing. So he said, "Oh, so sorry, I'm so sorry for you. But what happened? And the milkman, he was crying and he was saying, "Oh, everything is dark, no hope, everything. Now there is no hope. Where is the hope? What is the purpose of life? I'm all alone now in this dark world." Soldier felt, his tears became a little bigger also, he was empathizing and he said, "Okay, no problem, no problem." But what happened? And the milkman said, "Oh, you don't know." Soldier said, I don't know. I don't know, Bob. I mean, it seems something has happened and it's serious. But please tell me what happened. And the milkman said, "You don't know." He said, "I don't know." And the so and this milkman said, "Oh, you don't know. Sargam Singh is dead." And the soldier, he heard the Sargat Singh is dead. First he started scratching, Sargat Singh, Sargat Singh, Sargat Singh, who's Sargat Singh? I don't know Sargat Singh. I don't even know Sargat Singh. So he thought, okay, maybe anyways, I never studied history so much, and I am not much updated with current affairs. My mobile internet is not that strong. It doesn't give me that much. So, so the soldier also started mourning. He said, "Okay, if this is something serious, maybe it's not like that." So he also started mourning. The soldier, he shaved his head. He started wearing black clothes. And he was also mourning. So he went to his army camp. So he went to his camp, and he was also wailing and howling and crying. And he had such a kind of attire. And all others started asking, "Arey, kya ho gaya? What happened to you?" And he said, "Alas, alas, now there is full darkness in our lives." And he said, "Arey, but what happened?" And then they start saying, "No, no, no, see the point." And then he started asking, "You don't know what happened?" And he said, "No, we don't know what happened." So he said, "You don't know what happened?" He said, "No, we don't know what happened." "Oh, you don't know what happened?" I said, "No, we don't know what happened." He said, "Sarkar Singh is dead, you don't know what happened." And they start thinking, maybe, this fellow is some, some, very powerful star or some great hero or something like that. And they said, "Oh, like that, maybe it's some kind of emergency actually." So everybody shaved their heads. They wore black clothes. Everybody, started sitting and crying. The commander in chief came, and they all told him, "You don't know what happened." The commander in chief, he was looking here and there, says, "I really don't know what happened." And then he was wondering, "Arey, I'm commander in chief. I don't know. This is a very shameful situation. What happened?" He says, "Sarkar Singh is dead." Like that. So the commander in chief also shaved his head, started wearing black like that, And now, so now there was no army on duty because everybody was sitting and mourning and wailing, So the king, and he was wondering. He said, "Where is my army? Nobody is on job. Nobody is around. Where is army practice going on? Where is the drill going on? Everything." No, and then he summoned the important personalities in the army, and all of them were having some tears in their eyes, and all of them were mourning. Now they are going before the king, so they were even having more tears because they're going before the king. So they thought it's some big hero actually, and if they are not sufficiently aggrieved about that fact, the king may not take it in good light. But actually the king never knew what has happened. So the king asked them, "Arey, what happened?" And they said, "No, Jahapana, you don't know what happened?" He said, "No, I don't know what happened." And they started crying, "Oh, you don't know what happened, everything is dark for us," and all that, The king said, "Arey, what happened?" And then they said, "Sarkar Singh is dead." So the king also jumped up from his seat. He also started thinking, "Who's Sarkar Singh? Maybe, some very important man, in our army or something like that. I should empathize, The king also tried to get tears and all that. Then some wise man actually raised up his hand and he said, "I am not able to understand. Please answer one question. Who is Sarkar Singh?" Everybody looked at him as if he's an offender. They'll kill him. But then he said, "No, kill me, but first tell me who is Sarkar Singh." Because everyone was mourning. Sarkar Singh is dead. Sarkar Singh is dead. They were beating their chest and all. Who is Sarkar Singh? And these people were about to kill him. Like that, they were about to kill him. So they were about to kill him. Like that. And the king, he got some eureka in his head. He said, wait a minute. No, you have to first answer who's Sarkar Singh. I also don't know. Everybody, now was looking, and the king doesn't know who's Sarkar Singh. And the king said, okay, I don't know. Commander-in-chief, you tell me who's Sarkar Singh. The commander-in-chief started, trembling. His whole existence started shaking. How can I know who's Sarkar Singh? He looked at his assistant, and like this, one by one, from army ranks, it was going, the passing the buck was happening this way, that, and finally it went to that first soldier, and they caught him. They said, he is the, what do you call it, the whistleblower, this fellow, Now, who is Sarkar Singh? First tell me, who is Sarkar Singh? Nobody in the whole kingdom knows, and everybody in the whole kingdom is knowing. And then he said, no, I thought that, I only don't know, everybody else knows actually, therefore I was mourning. But I don't know that milkman, and then they all caught hold of that milkman. They picked up that milkman, and they brought him. And this fellow with a big beard and all that, he came, and he was mourning and wailing and all that. And everybody, wanted to ask him the question, who is Sarkar Singh? And then he was crying. He said, you don't even know who is Sarkar Singh? You don't know who is Sarkar Singh? He said, Sarkar Singh was my goat. And he was so dear to me. His beard was like my beard only. He was like my brother, my son. And he's dead. So Srila Prabhupada quotes this interesting story, and to just show that actually one should not resort to blind following like that. So one should not resort to blind following. Prabhupada quotes this interesting story. So many times you see, our lives are also driven by this kind of herd mentality. There are fashions and there are lifestyle trends, and we just happen to just walk along that, not understanding what does it mean, where does it lead to, what is it injecting in our lives. Is that not blind following? That's the point. That is the point which we have to evaluate. Is that not blind following? That's the point which we have to evaluate. Therefore, There's somebody, gets up from sleep and he says, there is no God, and we believe it. Somebody just comes and says, okay, eat, drink, and be merry, and we believe it. Somebody just says, okay, I have a free life, have a gay life, have a, we believe it. So one should not have blind following. One should not have blind following. Therefore, one should evaluate whether the faith I am putting, is it reasonable or not. So reasonable faith is not only desirable, but such a faith is essential. A reasonable faith is that which is sensible. And a reasonable faith is that which is not just sensible, it is verifiable as well. That's called as reasonable. Sensible plus verifiable. Verifiable. So let's try to evaluate whether the faith in God, is it reasonable, is it sensible, is it verifiable or not. Let's try to evaluate that. Okay, so just give me a minute. I am so heavier. Okay. Okay, so here we are. Uh, okay, so let's try to evaluate that. So, from the beginning of our lives, we are trained or indoctrinated into thinking that life is all about material pleasures. In that way, we are just indoctrinated in one sense to thinking that yes, life means good eating, have a good food, have a good sleep, have a good romance, and if somebody comes your way, hit him hard, like that. That's what we have been indoctrinated to, to think like. But how much have we evaluated this paradigm of life? Simply a good food, a good sleep, a good romance, and some good biceps and triceps and pegs and all that. So uh, we did discuss sometime, some sessions back, that in fact these are activities which even animals do. In fact, animals can do these activities better. So this is simply an indoctrination, and we have just accepted it that okay, this is what life is all about in general. So many times you will see that we don't even stop by. Many times, many people don't even stop by to evaluate that what is the quality of the life which I am leading. Now, how meaningful and substantial is my life actually? What impact I am creating for the world to remember? Positively, obviously. Uh, we don't just stop by to think. So therefore, when we start thinking about that, then we want to understand that I need to see a little more meaning in life. I need to see some divine visions. Is it not? I need to see beyond the transient and the temporary into the eternal. And that's why we'll understand that I need to look at God. I need to see things. So in that sense, I need to see. So just like it's just like that I'm simply materialistic pursuit. Simply like it's just like groping around in the dead of the night in darkness. How much we can see, what all we can grab, how much we can see. But when one actually connects to God, it's like the sun rising in one's heart. Then everything becomes visible, crystal clear. What is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is meaningful, what is not. That's the point to evaluate. So dharma begins when we connect with God. Dharma is defined as laws of God. We need these laws of God to give us the light to evaluate the substantiality of any object. Just like we go to a grocery shop, vegetable shop, we need a weighing pan to give us a matrix. सही है कि नहीं? Is it the right quantity or not? Therefore, so similarly, these laws of dharma are like a weighing pan. We can weigh what is the substantiality of any situation, any offer, any action which somebody else is proposing or our own mind is proposing. We can weigh that. That's what dharma is all about. And dharma begins when we accept God. So when we understand, when we question, okay, what is the purpose of creation? What is the purpose of my existence? How does uh, uh, mind channelize towards thine, divine? Let's take an example. Just like if you see, say for example, if you see a New York City, I mean this is New York, uh, skyscraper buildings, you're seeing such a magnificent, legendary aura, or such an elegant, impressive aura which is around New York City, like that. Now, if you see New York City, so now, uh, suppose an aborigine from a tribal village in India or some Asian belt happens to land up. I mean, we just pack him pack him up and blindfold him, pack him, bring him to New York City, and then open the curtain in front of his eyes. And he's seeing New York City for the first time like this. He may say, okay, oh, this place is amazing. And so he may say, okay, this place has been there forever. Is it not? So an aborigine may think like that. Okay, this place would always have been existing, just like a mountain range. And an aborigine can think like that. Okay, this place is eternal. Now, if somebody gives him a book which explains that okay, this whole New York City came by chance, then he may say, okay, that some centuries before there was a very big explosion. It was a big bang. It was a big bang which happened in New York City, and you see out of that bang, all these skyscraper monuments have come up, architectural marvels. So what is this aborigine going to do? He is going to have a full faith. Again, he says yes, yes, yes. I see, barabar, barabar. Again, bang हुआ, bang से New York बन गया. So an aborigine can feel like that. But now if you bring in a European man and you show him all these skyscraper buildings and you say, okay, my dear sir, I'm giving you a book which says that okay, there was a bang actually in this part of the area some centuries back, and from that all these skyscraper buildings will come up. And he will say, are you drunk or what? Or do you think I'm nuts or what? That's what he's going to say. Because any normal average person can understand that skyscraper buildings don't come up with a bang. It requires a civil engineer, it requires an architect, it requires construction engineering, the civil engineering, it requires reinforced concrete, RCC structures, and it's a whole lot of design and it's a whole lot of effort and requires a hell lot of money that way. So no marvel, so he understands no such building comes up like that. It's hundreds of workers working. It's multiple, it's dozens of civil engineers, architects, into it, designers into it, and a couple of millions of dollars. That's all. I mean, that's all that goes to making one such architectural structure like that. So it's not a bang. It's so uh, now the point to note is that the same thing when we talk about our universe, which is much more complicated than New York City. How can we understand that the whole universe has come by chance? So yes, there is a postulate about the Big Bang theory, which says that okay, the entire universe came out with a bang. Now, if you try to research into Encyclopedia Britannica, to really understand, okay, Big Bang, what kind of bang it was. So if you now go and start researching into that Big Bang, so that Big Bang is described. So they say that okay, this Big Bang, everything came from a point. There was an explosion, and now the point, infinite density, and all that, and from that explosion, the whole universe came, and then it started expanding and all that. Now you may say, really, what kind of point this was? ये किस तरह का point है भाई? The point is we want to understand the point. The main point is to understand the point, है कि नहीं? What is the point in accepting the theory without understanding the point? That point has to be understood, is it not? So people are not pointing to the right point. They don't understand the point, but they say that Big Bang is a point to refute God. What is that point? That's the question we are asking. Again, what is that point? So Encyclopedia Britannica says, okay, that point is physically unrealizable. Okay, I may say, okay, physically unrealizable, fine. Okay, give us some equations, some simulation. Say, okay, that point is mathematically unverifiable. समझ में आया? That's what the point is described as. इनमें से कुछ तो बताओ, कुछ simulation, imagination, कुछ तो बताओ. I mean, this gives some connect the dots in some way at least. So, and then Encyclopedia Britannica says the third characteristic of this point. It says that okay, that point is beyond all conceptions of space and time. So now the definition is so amazing that you cannot put any question on it. But what is this kind of definition? Now the question is that what is this point? What is this point? Now, so by the way, there was an interesting episode which happened. When this Big Bang theory, was being, when it came up and it was being announced on the television and all that. So there was, one business guy, and he got a great idea. He got a eureka idea, seeing all this. And then what he did is that he purchased a lot of land, and in his land actually, he filled all his land with dynamite. And then no, so his ideology or his philosophy was, you see, a Big Bang can create a universe. No, so no, so I'll do a small bang. In my small bang will create a skyscraper housing complex, and I'll be a millionaire. That was his, so he named his company a small bang construction company. And there he was on the final day, and he was just about to press that the ignite the dynamite to explode like that. And yes, he did the bang, and there was a bang, and no, I mean, obviously from the point of view of world news, it was a small bang, but it was from his point of view, it was a very big bang in his bank account, and that's all what happened. The point to note is that now it's not reasonable. This theory is not reasonable. This theory is not is not reasonable. It's not adequate. Even in logic and reason, what to say of experience? And this is not the end of it. What is the impact which this kind of philosophy does on mankind? That is something which has to be questioned. What is the impact which this kind of philosophy does on mankind? You say, okay, everything has come by chance, so nothing is valuable, nothing is reasonable. Therefore, if everything is by chance, I can just have a random drive. I will do what I feel like doing. I don't care about anything else. Everything is just happening by chance. Let me just drive my way in any direction. And that's what has led to this hodgepodge world what it is right now. Crimes have increased, violence has increased, the sweetness of life has been lost. There is so much of restlessness, there is so much of exploitation. There is no life and sweetness in relationships. That's the kind of world which we are living in right now. Why? This is the kind of paradigm which, this is the kind of impact or the worldview which these kind of philosophies have created, or this kind of postulates have created. Now, on the other hand, the Vedas are describing that actually this whole universe has come about not from a point but from a person. That person is Mahavishnu. And he is perfect and complete. He is the source of everything. And everything which is existing in this world are all emanations of his energies. He is the absolute perfect. And from him are derived you know the everything, all the energies which we see manifested in this world. The simple question which we can ask ourselves is that what is more reasonable and what is more logical? A point or a person? So, which point has a substantial point? The point or the person? No, that's the point. Yes, so now what to say of the world at large? If you see a single cell, scientists explain that even a single living cell is more complex than the entire New York City. The human body has more than 30 trillion of such cells, and these cells can regenerate themselves. So therefore, the question comes is that is it intelligent to think that this world has come by chance? This world has come by just some kind of a bang? It's not reasonable. It's not reasonable. Therefore, many times when we simply postulate things on the basis of the wells of sense perception, it's not even reasonable. Actually, it's not even reasonable. That's why we have to put faith in scriptures, because otherwise, it's not even reasonable. That's the point. Sorry. Yeah. So let's go back. Okay. So let's go back here. Uh, Okay. Just give me a minute. Sorry. Uh, yeah, just give me a minute. I am going back to the previous slideshow once again. Okay, this one, yes. Uh, okay, so we are almost there now. Here we are. Sorry. Uh, okay, fine. So we are not even reasonable. That's why we have to put faith in scriptures, because sense perception is not adequately reasonable enough also. Similarly, another postulate of mechanistic science which says that okay, life is coming from chemicals. It's not at all reasonable enough. Life is coming from chemicals. Can you just define life and the meaning and the value of life by chemicals? And yes, we pointed out this in one of our previous sessions, just refreshing it. So, is the love which I feel for my mother just chemicals? How many of us would be ready to accept that? Is it just chemicals? So, it's not reasonable. And now how do we look at others? So the person says, okay, how do I look at my wife? Just some chemicals, just some atoms and molecules, just some carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen. Now if he asks, okay, so what is the difference between my wife and some other lady? Well, she is also carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, that is also carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen. So this understanding is not even reasonable. That's why we understand that yes, mechanistic science, mechanistic science is based on actions. There is a good amount of blind following which we get driven by when it comes to even mechanistic science. That's why we need scriptures to open our frontiers. The sense perception is not all in all, so that at least our moves are not unreasonable. So therefore, in that sense, we can understand that it's not that accepting God is blind. In fact, not accepting God is blind. How can you not accept God? Because when we understand that yes, the frameworks of mechanistic approach are not reasonable, are not verifiable as well. Where is the verification? If a big bang has created the universe, why can't a small bang create a good building? But you see people in India, they spend 10, 20 years working to just construct their house. Why can't everybody do a bang then? And if chemicals are only to make life, then why can't we produce at least a mosquito now? When science has become so advanced, it's not reasonable. It's not verifiable. That's the point. That's why we need spiritual life. That's why we need scriptures. So one may say, no, no, no. You see, the point is that the the modern day technology has become so much advanced. There are so many gadgets which are coming. So newer and newer machines are coming one after the other. Now, if you try to understand, okay, newer and newer types of machines are coming, but that is not called as advancement. Where does these machines have changed the meaning of our lives? And if you understand from a logical perspective, you see many times you see the theories are limited. From one theory you can make 100 appliances or 1,000 appliances. The electromagnetic theory on that, thousand no, refrigerator is also made on that, air conditioner is also made on that, water heater boilers are also made on that same concept. Thermostat is based on that concept. So many things can be made on the same concept. So that doesn't mean we are advancing. That doesn't mean that it is changing the order or the meaning of life. Because the vision is not upgrading, it's the same vision. It's just like from one rice you can if you add sauce to it, it becomes Szechuan rice. If you add lemon to it, it becomes lemon rice. If you add imli to it, it becomes imli rice. Coconut to it, so the flavor is changing, but rice is the same. The calorie and everything is the same. Just changing the flavoring. So that's the point which we have to understand. That when we accept scriptures and shastras, the instructions given by God and the saintly acharyas, then what is happening is that we are installing the next higher dimensional version of vision. So our paradigms are going to enhance. Our degrees of freedom of thought process and evaluation are going to expand. That's the point which we have to understand. So yes, that's the point which we have to understand. Yes. The second aspect which we can see to understand how belief or accepting scriptures or faith in scriptures and God is reasonable is by evaluating the futility of godlessness. With the increase of atheism, the the sweetness and the quality of people's lives have got reduced. Now even morality has got shrunken. So without God, no morality can also sustain. What to say of spirituality? That's so violence, crime, unheard of exploitative tendencies and mindsets. No, we are experiencing, such kind of cruelty, such kind of exploitative drives which we are seeing in the world, and you see the whole world exploding with stress, tension. People are not even able to tolerate and uphold one relationship. Say husband, wife, father, mother. Few to three relationships also people are not able to uphold. This is our state. So we can experience, yes. Now it is easy to say, okay, that this world is, is a ground for survival of the fittest. There is a, that one who is the fittest who can survive. The matter of the fact is that in this world is such that, even the fittest don't survive. Even the fittest don't survive. Just like the example of John F. Kennedy is given. Even the fittest don't survive, they are shot. That is how this world is. So for anything and everything, there is so much of struggle, and there is want. Then a person works hard, he is worrying, he is weeping. So person uh, tries, and then he cries, and then he dies. That's what this world is all about. So if we see the futility of this world, the kind of worldview which has been created, and it's uh, and we see that, yes, and many postulates which have been offered, or many worldviews which have been which have become ingrained in us because of attachment to the scientific worldview, or the scientific postulates, or the scientism, the worldview or the vision which is created, has simply uh, uh, make us lose the sweetness and the essence of life. Actually, people have become more and more robotic. The finer qualities are lost, the sentiments are lost. People are so hard. People are just, people have become so much narrow minded, just into their own lives, and to drive their own selfish pursuits. Person is ready to do anything and everything. This is what life has been reduced to. But yes, much thanks is there to the kind of modern day theories which have come up, which very strategically sideline God out of our lives. Therefore, people understand that, yes, I can do anything now. There's nobody above me. There's nobody whom I have to report to, connect to, depend upon. I can enjoy anything and everything, and that's how it has been now postulated. Like, say for example, they used to call abortions. They used to be the medical, it was called as pregnancy termination. But then the name got changed into tissue termination. Now, if you hear the name tissue termination, it appears that, oh, tissue termination, no problem, not much into it. But actually, it's a gruesome murder. So, we can actually, put facades and veneers, superficial illusory facades and veneers, but ultimately we have to understand, but what we are doing is simply cheating ourselves. Therefore, we need God. The whole society without God is like a dead body. And you see, mind it, a dead body cannot do anything good to anyone. A dead body can only horrify others. That's all. Dead body can only horrify others. That's all. As you see in the horror show and other things. A dead body can only horrify. That's all. And therefore, the whole society's structure is such that everybody is horrified. Everybody is foaming, and everybody is in fear. Fear of what? Survival. That's what we have come to. That's why we need God in our lives. Every aspect of the world, every aspect in nature gives us a pointer to God. Just like you see, if we look at the world, there is amazing design. We did discuss about this a few sessions back, but now just some more food for thought. Just like, say for example, aircraft, aviation industry, requires aerospace engineering and so much of intelligence going into the designing of aircrafts. Uh, and now, if you see a cloud, now cloud is an aircraft can carry a good amount of luggage, but you see a cloud is also a floating object like an aircraft. But a cloud can carry gallons, tons of gallons of water. Actually, it is such a powerful water tank which is sailing, as if effortlessly, in the sky. Such a powerful machinery, aircraft machinery. Actually, in fact, a cloud is such a powerful floating water tank that it is even aircraft proof. A whole aircraft can pass through the cloud and not a drop of water will leak out. Look at the technology. That's God. That's God. Similarly, we see our planets. That's God. Is it not? Now, if you try to understand what kind of machinery or technology God has made, you know, you know, God has made a technology which can convert, from mud. The Lord is producing mangoes. Such a kind of technology. I mean, it's okay, the mechanism of photosynthesis, but who has said this automation? Now, what to say of, setting up this automaton of photosynthesis or this mechanism of photosynthesis? We don't even understand what it is even till date properly. So, that's the idea. So, if we see this world, it is amazing. Therefore, everywhere in this world, if we want to see, we can see the footsteps of God. That's why accepting God is reasonable. Many scientists talk about the existence of God. Faraday, Maxwell, Max Born, the greatness of the creation and the creature. An equation to me has no meaning unless it represents the thought of God. Ramanuja, Max Planck. For religion, God is at the beginning. For science, God is at the end. Max Planck. Heisenberg. There is a higher power not influenced by our wishes, and which finally decides and judges. Kepler. So yes, uh, so without God, everything appears to be meaningless and futile. So just like you may have a big skyscraper building which may have an Inox theater, which may have a supermarket in it, which may have so many strategic offices in it. But suppose if the main supply plug of the building is disconnected from the electricity source, then everything is dark. Then that whole beautiful, magnificent glass building with all its settings, everything appears to be dark and dreary, and everything will appear ki kyun hai? What is the purpose of it? Everything is so futile. Anyways, it is dark. But if you connect to the main switch properly and the electricity is there, then everything will dazzle. Everything will dazzle. So everything becomes meaningful in this world when God is added in our lives, and therefore God comes in the form of so many incarnations to explain, to bring about, to churn out that meaning from our lives, to give us the experience, the trailer of the highest kind of happiness. So therefore, just like to drive a car, we need a manual to drive our body, which is also like a car. We need the manual of the Vedas. That's reasonable. And the purpose of a Mercedes is not to plow a field. Similarly, the purpose of a human body is not sense gratification or a quest after sensual pleasures. That's what we have to understand. And belief in God is verifiable. The Handbook of Religion and Health, written by Coing, Mikolo, and Larson, they reviewed more than 2,000 cases of experiments that were tested to find the relationship between health and everything else from blood pressure to heart disease to stroke, cancer, and everything. And amazing research results. They say that okay, people who attend a spiritual program at least once in a week live 7 years longer than those who don't attend. Religious youth showed significantly lower levels of drug and alcohol abuse, uh, premature sexual involvement, criminal delinquency, suicidal tendencies than their non-religious counterparts. Elderly people with deep personal religious faith have a stronger sense of well-being and life satisfaction than their less religious peers. A high SQ, that means spiritual quotient, faithfulness to God, appears to benefit people of all means, educational levels, and ages. This is Cohen's conclusion of this book. So Robert Atkin from Ohio State University says this, the cycle of materialistic pursuits is disappointing and exhausting in the long run, and can make people perpetually unhappy. In the book God the Evidence, Patrick Glynn talks about religious believers are found to be less prone to suicide, alcoholic abuse, drug abuse, divorce, stress, and depression. Patrick Glynn further says religious believers are found to have greater marital sexual satisfaction, overall happiness, and psychological well-being. It is difficult to find a more consistent correlative of mental health or a better insurance against self-destructive behaviors than a strong religious faith. So yes, in this sense we can understand that faith in God is verifiable. So we see that scriptures, in this way we can see that actually scriptures are a compilation of the best practices to lead life. The best practices to lead life actually. That's what the scriptures are all about. It is the most efficient algorithms for life. So the rules in scriptures are very well thought of, very well thought of, very well thought of. Each and every rule in the scriptures. So if you try to understand, the strength of the scriptures, the rules which they are giving for society is very well thought of. Like, say for example, the scriptures explain about the strength of scriptures lies in understanding of mind. It's a subtle dimension of which we have no clue. But scriptures are giving a complete understanding of how Gita is giving a complete understanding of how mind and intelligence works. So it explains that yes, uh, uh, when one uh, when one tunes the mind to the rhythm of the spiritual sound vibration and absorbs the intelligence, so that purifies the mind by chanting the Mahamantra. So uh, it gives us a whole different dimension of it gives us a whole different degree of control over our own selves. That's what scriptures are all about. Another strength of scriptures is the modes, how we can understand the various behavioral patterns and tune ourselves simply by changing our activities, connecting to God. Changing our activities, we can come from mode of ignorance to mode of goodness. Qualities, how we can install divine qualities in our life. These are strength of the scriptures. Each and everything in scriptures is so well thought of. Just like we see that there is an intrinsic difference between man and woman psychology. A woman a little simple-hearted. They are a little softer. The feeling quotient is more in them, and therefore it is explained that okay, a woman is better for training and rearing a child. Why? Because she's more simple, she's more soft-hearted, more feelings. So then she can give a very loving ground for a child to install values in a child and to develop and mold his character. Whereas a man to do it, will face a little more difficulty. So scriptures are talking about that. The Vedas are talking about that. It's well thought of. It's practical. The Vedas say that okay, the matrix of how civilized a particular society is, that can be measured by how much care and respect and love is given to 5 sections of the people. These 5 sections of society or 5 sections of people are old men, children, women, cows, and brahmanas. If we try to evaluate, objectively, most of them, are not very productive from a quantifiable sense. Children, how much they can productively achieve? Old men, how much they can achieve? Uh, yes, women intellectually, mentally they can achieve, but physically they have some limitation. Brahmanas are not very shrewd people. They are not very they are very simple-hearted, innocent people. They are not very shrewd. They are not very strong. They don't have pegs and all that. Cows, the delicate animal. So that's what Vedas talk about. Vedas talk about that yes, interpersonal relationships. The matrix of having good interpersonal relationships is that you rejoice in the virtuous. Those who are having higher qualities than you become happy seeing that. Rejoice in the virtuous. Make friendship with those who are who are happy. And then you can share their happiness like that. And it says that okay, those who are unhappy, we should have compassion, not exploit, but have compassion. And those who are envious, just avoid them. Just don't mess up with that. Don't do different with that. So each and every aspect which is given in the scriptures is well thought of and well laid out actually. So therefore we need scriptures in our life. That doesn't mean that we don't need science at all in our life. To summarize in one statement, we can quote Einstein, who said very beautifully that actually science without religion is blind, and religion without science is lame. So, we can channelize our scientific vision and scientific pursuits, and add God to that. That becomes a perfect combo. The lame and the blind, both go together. Then it is such a divine combination, which can actually uplift us to the crescendo of happiness, fulfillment, and meaning. Thank you. So we'll stop here for today. There are further dimensions of faith which we will explore in our coming weeks. Uh, uh, but let's pause for today. And if you have any questions, we can take some questions at this point of time. Can you just check with them? We have some questions. So we will continue this series of uh, we'll continue the series of dimensions of faith. Next week, we're going to so next week uh, we will present uh, uh, the further dimensions of faith, for us to enrich our intelligence and to consolidate our visions. So that's the next Saturday. Okay, so so there is a question: how to strengthen one's faith? I believe the question is how to strengthen one's faith in God. So we strengthen our faith in God uh, by a holistic evaluation. Like we are evaluating, what material life has given us. Then we evaluate what spiritual life can offer to us. We strengthen our faith by a guided experimentation. When we experiment, we can see for ourselves, and we strengthen our faith uh, by association with broad-minded people who are who are willing to experiment with this sublime dimension of life. That's God. So those who are willing to experiment. So in that association, we strengthen our faith. When we experiment, we strengthen our faith. When we introspect and evaluate, after hearing, so we receive the statistics of this material world which we keep receiving. We should hear about the spiritual world as well from the scriptures. We should hear about, and then we evaluate, and then we experiment. And in this whole process of evaluation and experiment, we keep a good association. So that's how we can strengthen our faith. So okay, I thank you all very much for today. Be there with us for new insightful dimensions of faith coming up in the next session, next Saturday. Thank you.